And this is the Mercedes-Benz Rangers postgame show. On a day designed for a repeat performance, it was lather, rinse, and repeat from too much of the last 2+ weeks. Rangers fall 7-5 on home ice to the Seattle Kraken. Inside our Delta MSG studios from the Garden alongside Steve Alliquette, I'm John Giannone. I think the most troubling part about today, Steve, is the Rangers led this game 3-1 and then gave up 5 consecutive goals. You don't see that happen very much.
It's not too often you score 5 goals in an NHL game and lose. And the Rangers, just for broad context around the league, just so you know, they do have the best offense as far as getting scoring opportunities. They're not the best at converting. That's why they're 12th in scoring, but they get the most offense. All right, let's just put it that way. But defending, what they're giving up is the most. And until the team, but it's really a player-to-player decision, decide to sacrifice some offensive risk for defending, they're not going to get back on track. And look, they have to go 34-22, John, to end up with 97 points. They've got to start playing well now. I never would have expected that today. I didn't think this was happening. Not against Seattle. Seattle putting up 7. I mean, who had that? And to score 5 and not win, they really have to evaluate right now, what is more important to us, winning or getting our personal points? And there's a big difference there. If you spend any time looking at the previous Stanley Cup winners over the last 10 years, they don't have any 100-point guys. You go further back when Patrick Kane was winning Stanley Cups for the Chicago Blackhawks, 80 points, 60 points. Crosby, when they won back-to-back cups in Pittsburgh, 80 points. They sacrifice a lot for the team.
But it didn't look like this just 2 nights earlier. So the question is, why was there no carryover defensively, given what we saw against a similar team in Pittsburgh on Friday?
Okay, so do you remember at the beginning of last year when the Rangers were defending really well? They were Stanley Cup caliber defense, team defense in October, November. There were whispers around the team that they weren't scoring enough on 5-on-5.
Right.
And there's nothing that can unravel a team more than hearing that, because guys want to get their points, John. And so they start to give up a little on the defensive side, put risk in their game and go offensive. And then the season unraveled for a little bit. And then they got it back on track and they defended well at the end of the season. But right now where they're at, they're trying to score more than they're trying to defend.
Well, let's gauge the reaction, beginning with Mika Zibanejad inside the Rangers dressing room. Michelle Gingras doing the interview after the 7-5 loss to the Kraken.
Where did it feel like for you guys things went wrong and maybe the disconnect there in the second period?
Yeah, I mean, I think they had their pushback halfway through the second, and obviously I don't think they had that many chances. They just made the most out of the chances that they got, and it's a tough way to end that second period. After I think we start the game well, and thought we could have had a couple more goals in the first, and still get up to a lead in the second. And I think we're doing a lot of good things, and then it's a momentum shift and a pushback from their side that they make the most out of, and then we have to be more aware of some of the chances that we gave up. Again, I don't think it's a quantity of the chances. I thought it was the quality of the chances, and puts us a little bit of a hole. But I thought try to fight back. Got close, and obviously it's a loss, and we want to win games right now. But I think there's a lot of good things that we can take away and keep building on that.
You mentioned just the quality of the chances they got in the second period. Did you feel like for you guys it was more what they were doing well as opposed to breakdowns in your end, or maybe a little bit of both? How did you see it?
Might be both. I thought they obviously they were desperate to get back into the game, and I thought we did a better job in the first, kind of limiting their zone time. I thought it was them rolling and cycling a couple of times, and then a guy gets open, and we weren't really sharp with their movement in our D zone to cover the guys that were open, and that cost us, obviously.
Just what are the emotions? As I know you guys are coming off of such a big win, you're trying to build some consistency here. Just what goes through your mind after a loss like today?
I think there's I thought again, I thought there was obviously the result matters. The result matters when you're in a situation like this. The situation that we're in is because we've been losing, and we want to get back to winning games and putting a couple wins in a row and build something off of that. But I thought there was, other than maybe the 10-minute lapse in the second period, I thought the energy was high. I thought we competed, we played hard, and that's something that we have to take with us until tomorrow.
Thanks.
So some inconsistency of energy, part of the message Mika Zibanejad portraying after the game, but I thought he talked about the not sharp with our movement in the defensive zone that I thought really was the story of the game, Steve. Just the fact that the 6 they gave up, 4 of them in that middle period when he said Seattle had their push. Rangers didn't have an answer for a push.
And the first 3 were all east-west again, in zone, where everything should be settled. The best defense, to me, it's in your own zone layers. With this personnel, quadrants is best rather than man-on-man because it's less responsibility for guys. But when the puck goes to the corner, D, center, D in front of your own net, weak side winger between the hash and your own zone, keep everything isolated on one side of the ice. They just have to do a better job at protecting the strongest player on their team, which wasn't in the lineup tonight, but Shesterkin in the future. Going forward, have the game where everything stays on one side of the ice. That should be the D zone written law. And all restrictions around running around and chasing and switches, throw that out the window because too much offense is coming off of missed coverage. And missed coverage, John, those are personal assignments.
Right. And what's so stark is when it was 3-1 Rangers, the shots were 21-8 in favor of the Rangers. 8 shots at that point for the Kraken. They ended up with 6 more goals in the game and won 7-5. More reaction from the Rangers dressing room, more from Michelle Gingras, this time with Vincent Trocheck.
Yeah, it's just the consistency throughout the game. I think you got to do that for a full 60 minutes and be urgent like we were in the third to create, and even when you're up a couple goals playing like that, it also keeps you out of the D zone, so we got to maintain that.
Vince, it felt like first half of the game, really, not just first period, 30 minutes or so, you guys were in control, had a lot of zone time. What changed for you? I mean, did you feel like you took the foot off the gas a little bit, or were there breakdowns beyond that? Like, what did you feel like was the difference?
There were definitely breakdowns. I think we got to make sure that we're paying attention to details, and even when we're up goals right now, not right now always, but especially right now. I think maybe we let the foot off the gas a little bit too and go up a couple goals. You got to make sure that we play the same way.
Was it something that they did particularly well in the second period in their response that kind of caught you guys maybe not necessarily off guard but put you on your toes a little bit?
I think they were just playing simple. They were getting shots to net from everywhere. Every time it went back to their D, it seemed like they were getting a shot on net, and it was creating some chaos in front of ours. So it's just paying attention to those little details and making sure we have our guy and tying up sticks whenever they are shooting from the point. And when you do stuff like that, it leads to good offense too. It leads to transition.
Mika was just saying that, he felt like there were some good things you guys did that you can build on, but also obviously results matter, especially given the way things have gone recently. So where do you kind of stand on that? How do you balance wanting to find positive takeaways, but also understanding that, you gotta find a way to win more games?
Yeah, you gotta stay positive at times like this and make sure that we know what we're capable of. I think, like we played in the third period, I feel like we played like a team that knew we could come back from down 2 or 3 goals, and that's the sense we had in the room last year, anytime we were down a couple goals. And I think this is a step in the right direction in that sense, and making sure that we have confidence in our team, and I think positivity feeds into that. But yeah, you got to win games, and you got to do that for a full 60 minutes. You can't just have that urgency when you're down.
He is right about that. Rangers now have lost 7 of their last 9. I thought the word simple used twice by Vincent Trocheck there with very different meanings. He said, we just have to be simple with our details and make sure that we have our guys covered defensively. But then he said, Seattle went to a simpler game, and that created chaos in the Rangers zone, which is interesting to me.
I think that's interesting. I also think it's interesting that the Rangers looked like they were going to come back in this game. Now, they got what they deserved, but they looked like they were going to come back, especially around the 4-minute remaining mark. They were playing without fear. They were playing free. They were playing without thought in a good way, but they were working. And to me, that's this team when they're at their best. why do they look slow and stubborn when they're trying to be overly creative when it's not there? And they almost look like they were getting outworked. For 56 minutes, they were getting outworked. I wonder why they looked so good and determined in the last 4 minutes. And can you bottle that and bring that in the first 5 minutes tomorrow night?
Right. And that was part of the inconsistency that Trocheck talked about right off the bat in that interview, which is the inconsistency of effort over 60 minutes. It leads to this look of frustration from a Rangers team that left the Garden Ice 7-5 losers.